Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest thing on the internet today. Welcome to Murph and Sully's Youth Athletics Podcast.
All right, we'll go with it. The greatest thing. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your co-host, Mr. Ed Sullivan, aka Sully, and I am joined by
Dan Murphy, aka Murph.
And boy, Murph, do we have a special show for our viewers tonight.
I am excited.
Tonight, we are going to talk about something that is rarely done at the middle school level. We are going to talk about live streaming sporting events.
Yes. Like it. Love it.
So, just a little context. Tonight we are interviewing Mr. Charlie Williams, who's affiliated with the school that we work with. And Charlie is the patriarch, what would I call him? The Dr. James Naismith of the KCA Sports Network. Murph, do you know what KCA stands for?
I do.
What does it stand for, Murph?
Night. Go Knights! It's nighttime! Yeah!
Well, thankfully, Murph is always prepared.
Go ahead.
KCA stands for Knights Camera Action. It is the worldwide leader in middle school sports. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Charlie Williams.
Charlie!
Hey, how are you guys?
We're great. How are you?
Great. No, doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, Charlie, we appreciate you taking the time, especially on a Friday night, to come hang out with Murph and I and talk a little bit about live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Guys, I have to interrupt for a second because we've got an issue. We got a technical difficulty. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Our technical coordinator. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Bring it in. The show already started, buddy.
The technical coordinator.
Right, come on, let's go. Let's go. All right, there we go. Now we're ready.
We are ready to roll. So, Charlie, let's get right to it. Let's get right to the hard-hitting questions. How did your live streaming journey for your school begin?
I would say when this all started, it started with, when COVID started and it's, it became apparent that people weren't going to be able to gather. We weren't doing sports for a long time, but what we started doing not right away, but within the first several weeks, we started doing like church services, and our church, sent out a notice who's willing to volunteer to do live streaming of church services. And, I'm a technology guy. I do computer programming for a living. I do computer work. And I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about it, but I could figure it out. And, the more I thought about it, I've always kind of been interested in, I've been a sports fan all my life, but I've also sort of appreciated like the production aspects of it. Like if there's cool graphics on the screen, hey, that's cool what they did, or they show a replay, a few angles of a replay or super slow motion. I kind of like, oh, that was a cool presentation. And, I was like, hey, when they said they needed live streaming help, I'm like, hey, this is something really I've always wanted to learn, but, I've been, just never taken the time to do it. Life caught up. And this was an opportunity to do it. So it was really, church streaming services. And it really, the more we did it, the more kind of applicable it is to a lot of the things we do in sports, because, it's a live event. There's a lot to capture from different places, but yeah, that's really how we got started.
Lots of action, lots of movement. Dunking,
right?
Look at sacrilegious, Murph. Sorry.
Careful. No. Timing how long the sermon is, right? Live statistics.
We would never do that.
No.
Never.
No. So Charlie, you got your start when, at least from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, with but even before the masses started, the live streaming of at the athletic awards ceremony and other events.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, doing the athletic awards ceremony in the spring was really the first chance to play with like video editing software, and that was a lot of fun. It was, yeah. So you remember how, like I was saying, that I kind of had an appreciation for like sports broadcasting and some of the things they did. There were. When we put together some videos and some segments for the athletic awards, it's different from live streaming because it's not live and it's just one person talking at a camera with kind of like this, but with pre-made videos, pre-prepared, but really a good chance to be creative. So yeah, I mean, we talked to a lot of people. We used, it was simple software. It was just, like iMovie on a Mac. But there's so much you can do with it now, like with transitions, adding music and all this. And yeah, that was a huge learning experience. Really the first time I had done that. Another thing I'd always wanted to learn. But yeah, that's where it started. Okay. But live streaming ended up being sort of another level of challenge because it was like more than one camera. You had like, network, you had Wi-Fi issues that you didn't have in something like this, like doing a, broadcast in front of your own laptop. And, it was live. You can't like pre-prepare like you can on a video.
Right. So speaking of live, so we talked about doing live stream for cross country. What was behind that decision, and what was maybe some of your anxiety about it, or other things like that?
Yeah, I had a lot of anxiety about it. So I mean, we wanted to do it because it became clear that we were gonna tell parents, hey, we still want you to drive your kid to practice several times a week. We still want you to drive them to the meet. But then you can't watch your own kid compete, and I thought, I'm a cross country parent myself. And, I think that's really hard on parents. And so we really wanted to give the parents a way to say, hey, here's a way you can watch your kid compete like you always have been able to do in the past. And I think it really served as kind of a thank you to the parents and an acknowledgement of how hard it was, what they were going through. And I also think for the kids, we're especially the 8th graders this is their final, season in cross country. And, we're able to give them a season in cross country, but, they're missing out on a lot of things. And this is a way for us to give them, something special, a way to be recognized, a way for people to watch them, a way for them to go, one thing we recognized that I didn't really think about is we would see we would have this many views like right after the meet, but then it would double almost immediately. Like by the next day, it was more than double. And it, surely was kids going back and watching their own race at home, which I think they really appreciated doing. Yeah. And, I think that's what really got us to do it. And we had started back in the winter time, when we first started playing around in basketball, and this was before the pandemic, we were doing some basketball games, and we were recording basketball games really just it was for the coaches' benefit, for the kids to watch themselves, and also to see how feasible it was. It was kind of more like a hobby for us as well, to see what other benefits would we find from it. And we did find that the coaches were making heavy use of it, so it had a coaching benefit, but also the kids like to be able to go back and watch.
Very cool. And I can vouch for that, for the fact that I, as a coach in basketball, used it, and all the other coaches. We went back. It was great. We could show the kids stuff, and there's nothing better than video and doing that. So it was great.
And Charlie, being a former math teacher like you are, and me being a current math teacher, we like to make a lot of comparisons to the classroom and to sports on this show. And, just like you'd want kids to get feedback or see what they did right or wrong on a quiz, that's the power of that video, that instant feedback, that visual feedback that really goes a long way in their development and progression.
Right. Yeah, I think you guys would agree, like one of the best teachers is the ability to just go watch yourself, watch, Like I know, as you know, a basketball official myself, or former basketball official.
Oh no, you're still an official, Charlie.
I'm still.
You're re-registered. Don't pull that card.
But I've had cases where I've had like a supervisor record me and send me my video, and it's almost like they didn't even need to give me official feedback after that. I could watch myself and know. Yeah. And to a large extent, I think the kids, it's probably the same. I don't know if Murph, if that was your experience, if you showed the kids, did they get it immediately? Probably.
Yeah, I think they, like we said, the power of video is so huge to see yourself doing stuff. And, like we do in practice and in games, but without video, it's a lot harder to explain. So we would say things like, here, look at what you did here. That's awesome. We've been working on that in practice, and you're doing it. You're doing it. And here's something that we haven't quite perfected or whatever. So, this is the thing we need to work on for next game. So no, it's invaluable. And I think kids, it's funny, like cross country, we kind of joked that they saw the camera and a couple of them made faces as they went, funny faces as they went by and stuff like that. But in any other, at least from what I experienced in basketball, they forgot they were on camera very, very quickly, if they remembered it at all. So it was, they weren't conscious of it. So it was just, they were doing what they were doing. So it was fun.
Right. Yeah, we noticed that too with basketball and cross country. And we had a couple of cases, later in the season that, the kids would go to the cross country, they'd see the camera and they'd wave or they'd give a thumbs up or whatever. And that's all fun. But no, It didn't seem like the kids were intimidated by the camera. At least I wasn't aware of it. It was much more positive than any negatives from what we saw.
Yeah. Or even showing off.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Charlie, can you talk about, one of the things that you briefly touched upon in one of the last questions, but I just want to have you explain to the viewers, how do you live stream an outdoor sporting event when it comes to Wi-Fi? What was what ended up being the solution to that problem?
Yeah, that was probably the number one thing we were worried about when we said, okay, we have cross country season coming up. We really want to find a way to live stream it because we don't think the families are going to be able to attend. And so, we were thinking of different ideas. It's like, okay, if the solution we were thinking of was to put cameras around the park. And the good thing is, so first of all, we found a way to do it with only like iPhone, iPad, Android phone, like phone and tablet cameras. And, we ended up not purchasing, we thought about purchasing, more expensive cameras. I mean, you can easily spend, $2,000 on a camera that's not top of the line, easily. Yeah. And we really tried to, that wasn't going to be doable. And so we found a way to do it with iPhone, iPad, phone cameras. And, we got, cheap tripods from Best Buy, each of like $20, $30 tripods. And our goal was to put them around the park, but how to connect them on the same network to make a single broadcast out of it. I mean, we were thinking of a lot of things. We were thinking, who do we know that lives close to the park that we could kind of latch onto their Wi-Fi? We thought about, there was a big water slide in the park where we were. And so it had a big water slide tower. Could we put something up there to sort of be the master Wi-Fi? Everybody can, we explored a lot of options and we ended up going with the solution which is the same as what we're using for this broadcast, where we could have every device connect to the cell network on its own. Then they get put together in the cloud. So if you think about how this broadcast works the way we're doing it now, the three of us are at completely different places. And so our video goes up to the cloud and it's coordinated up in the cloud to give us the three screens everybody's looking at. Right. And they created it this way for this purpose, to do a podcast, but it ends up being perfect for what we had to do in cross country, which is put cameras at faraway places like the three of us are now, have all the video go to the cloud, and then be able to combine it into the cloud into one broadcast. So we kind of hijacked this idea for cross country. Now, the things we were really worried about are, okay, the cameras are close together. We're going, like, all of us are on our local broadband now, so it's easier. But if we're all going up to the cell network, like, how much, if I want to put 4 or 5 cameras, we were up to 6 at the end. I want to push 6 cameras worth of live video up to the cell network. And they're all in the same park. Are we going to be able to do that? How much data is it going to take? So I ended up, we ended up upgrading to unlimited data, which was good.
Shout out to Charlie's wife, Karen.
Right.
For her and for not hurting me. Love you, Karen. Thank you.
Right. And the other thing I'm worried about is, I've got parents lined up around the park, and if I'm trying to push up video to the cloud, they're trying to watch their kid. They're pulling down the video, and that's going to beat up on the cell network too. So I was worried about all those things.
Oh, boy.
It all worked out. So I mean, kudos to the cell network, because it took everything we threw at it. And, you guys watched, it was a little bit choppy from time to time, but overall it worked out pretty well. Like, we were able to get a decent broadcast. So it went straight to the cell network, and I'd recommend that. So again, I think my theme for anybody watching who wants to, who's thinking about this is, there were definitely a list of things we had to deal with, but it ended up being easier than we thought. And like, easy's not the right word, but there were a lot of, it was achievable, and we started easy and we got a little bit better. We added something every week to make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
We started really easy.
Charlie, you talk about how we needed, cellular devices. We needed iPads, tripods. What other equipment went into, it's meet day, and you're packing your van the night before. What's going into the back of your van to make a 4-hour outdoor cross-country meet happen?
Yeah. Okay. So it starts with prayers for no rain. We did get rain. We got rain once, and we had to stop the broadcast partway through, and that's okay. That's the reality of an outdoor event. Yep. But so what we had, I think we did it with 2 iPads, 3 iPhones, and an Android phone. So it's kind of, we were scavenging. We're trying to find, all the devices we could borrow from people that had unlimited data on it. Right. So we had that. I had, like I said, a $20 to $30 tripod for each one from Best Buy. And then it has a little clamp on it. You just squeeze it. I should have brought an example here. I don't have one, but yeah. Then after that, then we got a little battery pack about, this isn't it, but it's about this size, a battery boost pack. So the battery would last, 4 hours. Otherwise the streaming does take a lot of battery. But adding that battery pack, it would last 4 hours with that. And what we just duct taped the battery pack to the tripod and then just ran a USB cable, and that worked out really well. You don't need, you don't necessarily, for the way we did it, you didn't need any special software. It all ran out of the browser on the phone or tablet. We also used, at the finish line, we could have just set up a regular phone and camera and not done anything special. We wanted kind of the director person to be at the finish line. So we set up a card table at the finish line. We used a laptop like the one I'm on now. That person had the ability to change between cameras. And actually, can I share like an example of one of our, I don't have it up. So I was gonna, maybe in a minute, I'll bring up one of our meets. I didn't queue up, I was gonna queue up one of the Lombard, meets.
Yeah, well, you can queue that up right now. I'm gonna actually, as you're queuing that up, I'm gonna share a couple other things that maybe you're not thinking about of equipment-wise that you needed. One thing that I always appreciate about Charlie is that, because we're using this course that's a mile long, if something were to happen to a camera, right? If Charlie were to try to walk from one end of the course to the other, it'd be difficult. So Charlie, after week 1, started bringing his bike. He would take apart his bike, put it in the back of his van, and then when there was an issue, he was like Flash Gordon going across the historic Lombard Commons. I mean, just boom.
Right.
So only 2 kids run over all year.
Right.
So, that was a successful part of the operation. Having walkie-talkies to communicate with the staff. And we're going to talk about how many people it took to make it happen, but that was a valuable part. The only thing that Charlie always forgot that, I know he regretted was he never brought a chair, which, he'd always be like, I forgot my chair again. So, but, from an equipment perspective, when you throw in the devices, the tripods, the battery packs, you throw in the walkie-talkies and all the different things that Charlie needs to make, it's, the back of his van was filled up. So, but it's doable. It's manageable.
Well, one of the things we didn't talk about, we talked about one bit of rain that we battled, but also the heat and the cold. We had both. So how about that?
Right. No, I'd say, we had the heat, I think early in the year, maybe one of the first 2 meets was really hot.
Yeah.
And it actually, it was easy to work on, but it made the batteries die a lot faster, actually. Yeah. And this is when we were still trying to figure out how long would a battery last. I think we might have missed like half of the last race or something, which I felt really bad about. But the batteries, in the heat or the cold, the batteries won't last as long. So we learned that the hard way. It was also, for part of the morning, if it was a really sunny morning and the kids are coming right out of the sun. So the finish line camera, they're right in the sun. They're coming in as silhouettes. We had to play with the angle to get it just right. So that took some timing to get it right. But yeah, so, as a director, we had a card table at the end, like Ed said, with a bicycle, so I could ride around the park and fix stuff, and that really came in handy. But, we had, it was cool. Like I said, we got a little bit better every week. We started with a few cameras, and it was really simple. Over time, we learned to add some graphics. Ed, you want me to show? I got it queued up. You want me to show?
Charlie, you have free reign on this podcast. Whenever you want to share something, you don't have to ask. You do it, my friend.
Charlie, that rule doesn't even apply to me.
Right.
Well,
right.
We have to go through the censoring process, Murph.
Exactly.
Right. So is this on? Can we see it?
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. So this is just before a meet. This is, something we got a little better at every week. So, we started with a few cameras. We added maybe a couple of cameras at certain points during the year. We added these graphics, and even the graphics, it looks like, some people have said they look really complicated to do. Really, probably 30 years ago, they would have been really hard to do. But now if you can do it on PowerPoint. We use a solution, a web-based thing called LucidPress, which is really good. But as long as you can make a picture that can be transparent, that's all this is like a graphic with part of it being transparent. And it's really easy to do. So like I said, it's for somebody starting in this, start easy with like one camera, and then, get ideas every week. I want to see, hey, can I do 2 cameras? Can I put some graphics on there? And, we got a little better at it every week. And then, later in the season, we figured out, I think it was probably the second or third week, we figured out how to do a running clock. That was kind of a trick that went beyond this platform. We had to do some cartwheels to get that. But I thought, people really liked that. Being able to see the clock, and here it is here, if you can see it.
Yeah.
But I think that makes it more like interactive for people. Like one thing that we really tried to do, and here you can see we got better at the multiple camera angles. Here's kids who are coming, right at us. Something somebody was asking, like, what's my, philosophy of how to put these broadcasts together. And, I thought about that. I like, I've always been kind of turned on by the idea of how to do the broadcast, like the technical challenges, the things you learn technically. But like, if you really think about it, like, what do you want to see, like, in a sports broadcast? Like, the technology is good. Think of the best sports broadcast, whether it's football or baseball or track or whatever your sport is. If you think about, what do you like best about the sport, a great sports broadcast? I don't think that's the number one thing. What I think it is, like think about a Pixar movie. Do you guys like Pixar movies?
Yeah,
of course.
Okay, so if you think about, ask yourself, and people out there, ask yourself, why do you love Pixar movies? So now Pixar, they were like innovators. They were revolutionary in using technology to make animation and movies. And like they set the bar so much higher. But I would argue that that's not why you love Pixar movies. I think you love Pixar movies because of how they tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
The way they tell the story, they're showing you faces, they're showing you emotion, the way that the movement, it's like you can relate and you can really see how people are feeling and you can see the story develop. And so, when we did this, I really wanted to like do stuff like what we're doing in this middle camera. We're giving you a long angle to the runner, right? So we're all of these, even the runners that are finishing now, we're trying to give you the faces of the runners so you can see them struggling to the finish, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see them here. You get a long view of the runner coming to the finish line. You can really see her, that she was struggling as she made the turn, but she found something in her to do that sprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the story you want to see. And like, one of the things I looked at, and I'm going to share one other thing. Where am I going to go? I don't have it. But I was like, I was looking at baseball broadcasts and like the World Series last year, and maybe I'll cue it up in a little bit. But what you can see is they show you, they have the score box here, and they have slow motion, and they have base cam, and they have K zone, strike zone, and all that stuff. But if you watch a baseball game, what they keep going back to is like they zoom in on the pitcher's face and how focused they are. They zoom in on the batter's face. They really want you to get into, how the players are feeling and how focused they are. And I think telling that story, making it like a human story, is really, I think, what makes it special for people watching.
Yeah, I agree.
Seeing that effort.
Especially when you can track a student athlete throughout the course of a race.
Right.
Especially, if there's certain elements going on, whether it's a mist, whether it's a wind, whether it's really hot, and you can just see how that has an effect on them as time goes on. Or even, I know in one of our races, there's, 2 8th grade boys that were competing for first and second. And you could just watch that battle the entire last mile.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to the end, right? And so it paints a picture. So
right. And you're right. And adding the camera, not like trying to eliminate that dead time, because you're right. The people want to see the story develop.
And one thing that I think really added to this story that, I give you, Charlie is the brains and operations of this. I love that Charlie, all on his own, made the decision to, if you look at the picture here, he actually states the location of the camera, the direction, and the mile marker. So that way, once again, telling the story at home, okay, after the first mile, my child was at this time. Now, by the time they get to the 1.5 mile mark, where are they at? So I thought that was very key to the broadcast, because it told parents, even though they couldn't be there, it felt like they were with their kid the entire race, which honestly, they got more opportunity to watch their kids at home through our streaming than they did at a normal cross-country meet.
Yep, that's right.
Normally,
that's
see the start.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you see the start, maybe a little bit of the middle, and then the finish line. Very rarely do you get to see a whole race.
Yep. That's
that's true.
It's a story, and nothing tells a story like a little sweat or a face of determination or whatever it may be. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we can keep talking about it. So what I wanted to, this is what I was talking about before. Like, if you watch this, so this is Game 7 of the World Series a year ago, and like this is the Fox broadcast, and what you can notice, they've got. Pardon the. I'll get
Thank
back,
you to
sorry.
Grammarly, the official fluency application of Murphy Friendly's Youth Athletics podcast.
So I mean, what you know, that like Fox goes all out with the score box and the statistics and all that, but look in the the strike zone right there. But like right between pitches, like watch where they go. Watch the faces. So you're seeing even a close up of the umpire. Now they want you to see here. The batter's kind of joking with the catcher. No, that wasn't a strike. No, I didn't swing. Right. Yeah. Like you can see him jawing. Right. And that's that's sort of the story of the game. And it's like every chance they get, they're trying to show you, faces of people. So there it is, like a zoom, you see the focus and like there it is. Like you see a lot of, pictures of the zoom ins that, and technology lets us do this. But I think that's what, that's what sports broadcasts, pay attention to that in sports broadcasts. I think Fox and the other broadcasters, they've figured out that's you want to see the dugout cheering, you want to see the batter celebrating, right? Like you feel it. It's much more than a ball hitting a bat. It's much more than the number going up on the score, right? It's how that pitcher feels, disappointed. It's how they're fired up when it happens. So that's I guess that's probably all I wanted to say about that. But that's what I have in mind, and I think the more we can do with that, that's what the parents are going to feel about their kid, and that's what you want when you see a sporting event. That's really what you connect to, right? More than like the physical skill, it's really how people use their physical skill, and that's what makes it a metaphor for life, right?
Very cool.
Absolutely.
So how many people does it take to pull off a pious event? I mean, I guess depending on the event, but let's maybe start with cross country or just leave it at that. But
yeah, so we had we had one person on every camera, so we had 6 cameras. We had like I was the 7th person, sort of sitting in the director's chair. We had, Jason was our start and finish line guy. He was our roaming camera. And I really think that added a lot. We didn't do that on the first day, but I think, he was at I showed that in the first clip from the cross country that, he would go around the starting line. He would show close-ups of the kids' faces, let them say hi, show them, doing their warm-up jog back and forth. And then, he would go to the finish line and see him. So he was our roaming camera. Then we also had somebody, some weeks we had somebody at home, and what we would have the coaches do is take a picture of their like timesheets from the kids who finished. We would have them send it to somebody at home. 1 week it was Ed, it was your brother. Another week it was my son. And at home, like they would make slides and they could upload it to me. They could send it to me at the park and we could show it, we could show live results. So we had somebody at home doing results for the last few weeks. And then ahead of time, is when we did the graphics. So it was either me or, one of my sons, sometimes both of my sons working on the graphics. So that was something probably at least 2 or 3 days ahead of time. We probably spent, at least 2 to 3 hours a week, before the day preparing the graphics and getting ready.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's also
go ahead,
dependent. That's also dependent on coaches sending in their information and filling out their forms on time. Right.
So on a different topic, who would you say was your best volunteer cameraman besides me? Because I don't want you to be
biased.
No, don't. Let's not answer that. I was just trying to.
I'm not going to answer that. No.
Okay. We appreciate your discussion, Charlie, because we don't have any.
Right.
Well, and I will say this, one of the things being the starter for these meets that I had to do a really good job of was, and when I'm saying this, I'm not trying to compliment myself. It is, and I keep it a family show. I always do, but I do like to joke around. And it's remembering that, hey, if all these workers are on walkie-talkies, I have to make sure that if the broadcast is live and they can, because once again, keeping the volume on the camera on is telling a story. So it's reminding me that I of course I have to remain professional on the walkie-talkie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say that like we were talking about challenge. Wi-Fi was a challenge. We had some other challenges, but you're right. I didn't think of that, but it's absolutely a challenge that we wanted to keep the sound on to help tell the story. You hear even without parents there, you had kids cheering each other on. You had a few coaches at the finish line cheering them on. You had at the start line, you had kids getting excited. But you also had all your camera people had walkie-talkies on them. So they were hearing announcements. And, I was thinking about that for broadcasters, that must be a real problem that they spend a lot of time thinking about and solving that you don't think of as a viewer because they do a really good job in hiding that from you. But I think a theme of one thing I learned is that, real broadcasters if they're doing their job well, they hide a lot of their issues from you. Like it's kind of like being a good referee. If you're doing your job as a referee, people don't notice you're there. Right. And same thing in broadcasting. I think if we're doing our job well, everybody's focus is on the event and their kids and what's happening, and they don't even think about what you're doing. And I think that's one of the things that's satisfying is to hear people talk about, if I heard parents who had watched the race on the live stream, they're talking about the race. Wasn't that an amazing race? I can't believe it was tied at the quarter-mile mark, and then, this kid pulled ahead, and they're telling that they can tell the story of the race, and they don't even realize the technical aspect of what went into bringing that to them because it's just natural to them. And that's probably one of the best compliments that I could get indirectly, right? Is that somebody enjoyed it without even noticing doing the meet.
Yeah, I can say that from experience too, is that there was a lot of every race actually. We were all talking about, different aspects of the race, the race for first and second, the race for third and fourth, that kid stretching for time, whatever it is, you could follow it the whole way. The clock was instrumental in that too. So it was all great. And you're absolutely right. It's like after a while, even though all of us were involved to some extent, me more than Sully, because, he was busy blowing the starts. That was a big topic of conversation. So, and it was the story. So you did good, my friend.
We're going to talk a little bit more later about just people that watch these broadcasts. But Charlie, you talk about your pre-race graphics. You talk about the location of the cameras. We talk about the finish line timing clock. Can you explain the special video features that you incorporated into your later broadcasts of the season?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do, a special broadcast. We did a few things. We did the Lombard Invitational, and Ed, you were instrumental in getting the right people involved, but different people, the mayor of Lombard, the police chief of Lombard, the principals of all the competing schools. It was very cool. they all submitted like welcome videos and good luck videos to their students and everybody running the race. And it was one thing we had to figure out is how to incorporate that into the broadcast. And this is where like doing the athletic awards back in May really helped us, because we did have, that was a great experiment in how to have, you know, a live program, but then, you know, switch periodically to a pre-planned and, you know, pre-produced video.
Yeah.
And the way we had to do it, you know, being that, you know, we were at a live event and not sitting at our house on our own laptop, made it a little bit of a different challenge than what we had for the athletic awards. There were some additional challenges, but mostly the same. So, but that was really cool. I mean, everybody who contributed video did just a great job with that. It was very heartfelt. And yeah, we had to do some preparation, but it was similar to what we did for the athletic awards. You know, we see it ahead of time. We got 5 videos. You know, you really try to make it as simple as you can for yourself on the day of. So, you know, we had like 5 or 6 videos before the date, glue them together into one, so that, you know, when the pressure's on event day, you're only starting one long video and then it finishes and then you're done. So that was a lesson learned, I think, from the athletic awards, Ed, when we did that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to show a few videos in a row, make it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
But no, you know, I think another thing that inspired me that you're making me think about is how willing people were to make content for us. Like, you know, we got the mayor of Lombard, we got all the principals. You know, the principals have a lot on their mind,
especially right now.
Yeah, keeping their school going with this pandemic. And all 3 of the participating principals made great video. We got 3 great videos from the principals for the event. You know, like I said, the mayor of Lombard, the police chief of Lombard, they got other stuff to worry about. They were very generous. When we did the athletic awards, we asked for photos from people. You know, people made commercials that were hilarious. People recorded audio and video segments. Just people really, the community aspect of this, I think, is probably one of the most important. You know, you think about your school is a community, your town is a community, and with the pandemic, everybody's at home. Everybody's supposed to be on their own, like cross country. Everybody's, you know, just let the kids compete. Everybody else stay away, right? But the video streaming is really, you know, one thing we can do, and it's not the same as being together in person, but it's one thing we can do to make people feel connected, you know? And I think that, you know, when we do church services, it's the same way. Make people feel connected to their community. You know, people, you know, why do you go to a sporting event? You go there for the athletics, you go there to cheer your team, but you also go for the group experience, you know? Yeah. There's something about, even if you watch every game on TV, when you go to a game, it's different. There's something you appreciate about being, you know, at the event, and the community's part of it. And I think that's an important thing we've been doing that people have it's really resonated with people.
Very cool. Absolutely. And one other video that I want to shout out to you for, you know, oftentimes we talk about recognizing our 8th grade athletes, you know, giving them the proper send off. And, you know, Charlie, you want to talk about the video you did prior to the 8th graders final home race?
Yeah, we got this ended up, I think, being really special. We got the 8th grade coaches from all the schools to send us, you know, photos, like 8th grade running photos of the kids. And, you know, most of the coaches recorded videos kind of introducing their kids for the race. And, you know, talking about, they could say anything they wanted. And they really talked about how the kid had progressed, their new achievements, you know, what they contributed to the team, how they had improved, something really unique to each kid. And I think the coaches did a fantastic job with that. And that ended up being a nice kind of capstone for the 8th graders final race. Again, you know, going back to, you know, hey, we've had to take some experiences away from the 8th graders, whereas this is something special that no eighth grade cross country team has had before that we were able to give them, is this. So that I was really happy. And I was really happy at the effort the coaches put into it. And what we were able to do, that ended up being special because of the coaches being really sincere about how they did it.
And one thing I love about it too, and I know you can't see it, I got long sleeves on. I'm actually getting goosebumps right now because, it could be your son's an eighth grader, Charlie. Think about it, 15, 20 years from now, due to the power of the internet and the power of YouTube, your son's going to be able to go back with your grandson or granddaughter and show them his last cross-country race as an eighth grader and see that introduction and just have that lifelong memory. And that's a pretty cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, so yeah. I told you I wouldn't cry today, and now No, all right, kidding aside, I would say the highest compliment I can pay about that is that the eighth graders felt special in the sense that they were honored, but they didn't feel special in the sense that it was different. You know what I mean? It was they were honored just like every other eighth grader was honored. So I think to me, that's the highest compliment is, kind of like we talked about the ref not being visible. It's like the kids didn't, they didn't really notice. They enjoyed it. So it was great. And it probably made it even more special for them because even though the parents could see them on video and they could talk through it, there is that slight difference, right? So the parents physically being there for that last event, I think made it even more powerful actually. So it was good stuff. Really good stuff.
That's nice. Yeah, that's nice.
Now, Murph, before you get into question number 11, I do want to share that once again, if you are listening at home, you are free to leave a comment and it could end up on the show. Jason Borjo, who was our roaming start line and, last 100-meter dash camera person, really enjoyed helping with the KCA, and Jason did an excellent job.
Yes, he did.
Mickey Hogan Janeski says, the old folks at home appreciate all of your hard work, Charlie.
That's awesome.
Mickey and Terry watched every meet, so one of our more dedicated fans. Jack Wozek, hi Uncle Jack. Administrative question: do you broadcast publicly or was it invitation only?
Good question.
Great question. Thank you for that. So we did, we talked about that. We ended up broadcasting publicly, and it was on Facebook Live. It was on YouTube. We did, so we thought about that. At the end of the day, we decided that, hey, whenever we've had cross country meets in the past, we didn't limit attendance, right? Anybody can come to a meet, anybody can come to the public parks where the meets happen. So we don't restrict in person. So we felt it was appropriate to put it on, to put it on a public broadcast. But that's an excellent question, and it is something we thought a lot about. If you watched our graphics, you'll notice that we always put kids' first name and last initial only.
Yeah.
So that is something we tried to be careful to do. What else should I say to that question? It's a good one.
It's an excellent question. What I would say, and tonight's CYA moment of the night is brought to you by Wrangler Jeans. Always cover your behind. Tonight's CYA moment of the night is that, prior to registering for the sport, one thing that we did that the schools typically do is when parents signed their child up, they had to release permission for their kid to be part of the live stream. That was one of the, caveats to registering. And, with the idea that there were no spectators, thus, if they want to participate, they had to agree to be part of that live stream. So definitely protecting the kids and making sure we had parent permission. That was your CYA moment of the night, brought to you by Wrangler Jeans. So Murph, let's get back to the questions here, my friend.
Well, so Charlie, maybe tell us a little bit about the technology that you use, the platforms that you use to live stream.
Yeah. Okay. So we use, like I said, we try to keep it pretty straightforward and definitely on a low budget. So it's all iPhones, iPads, Android phones. Android tablet would work too. So it's phones and tablets. Simple browsers on most of them. This platform called StreamYard, which is like a cloud-based streaming platform. It's what we're using right now.
Yep.
And then, like I said, we added just a few things to do that finish line camera. We added a platform called OBS. It's a free broadcasting software, obsproject.com, and you can download it. And we put that on a laptop, and then we had a hotspot connection to our finish line camera. And then on the laptop, we set up with some graphics through, like a PowerPoint type graphic, and there's a free plugin to OBS that lets you do a running clock. That's really probably one of the only kind of special things we did. Yeah. And then, for graphics, we did, like I said, we used LucidPress as an online tool. You can use PowerPoint, Google Sheets, not Google Sheets, Google Slides, like a lot of other graphics software. And anything that makes a graphic with a transparent background you can use.
Right.
What else? What am I not? There's not much else than that. It ended up being cheap. Like I said, you could easily spend 10 to 20,000 to do this. And I'm sure, when Comcast, when the local public access channel goes to broadcast a school board meeting, or if they do a local football game, once in a while they come out to one of the high schools, do a football game. I mean, easily they're using $10,000 to $20,000 of equipment, but we were using existing. We probably did it for, I'd say, I don't know, probably $200 to $300, wow, which we can reuse again and again. It's a few things are subscription, the tripods, not much else.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we touched on a little bit on viewership and things. So maybe give us an idea of kind of numbers on viewership, but also we like to toss around the states that we're watching. People,
okay.
That's right.
I would say it was one of the most rewarding and surprising things was to hear how far away people were watching from. We did this with the expectation it was going to be parents around the perimeter of the park tuning in to watch. And honestly, one of the reasons that drove us to want to do it is we were worried about, parents not honoring the guidelines of having to stay, keep a distance from the event, and having the live stream is kind of a nod to say, okay, if you follow our guidelines, and then Lombard's going to let us keep having the meet, the diocese will, but we will help, we'll give you a live stream to kind of thank you for helping us keep this going. But like, it was surprising. We heard people were watching from Florida, and it was like grandparents and relatives from Florida, from Missouri. Where else did we hear from?
Kentucky, California, I think. All the surrounding states. There was Iowa in there, I believe, right? Iowa, Wisconsin, of course.
Wisconsin, definitely, yeah. But it was really encouraging to hear, people were really watching from far away. So that was like a big surprise. I think our viewership for cross country probably averaged about 30 to 50 at a time. But then, we had 8 different races going on. So a lot of people tuned in just for their kids' race. So it was an audience that was coming and going. I think during the course of a 4-hour morning, I think we probably had, 300 viewers in the first race. As the season went on, we usually did like 400 to 500 viewers in the morning. And then we'd come back, by Sunday, that was Saturday. And then by Sunday night, it was usually, 700, 800 viewers.
I think 1 or 2 meets, we hit 1,000 as well.
Yeah. Yes.
If you think about it, we had only tri-meets this year. It was only 3 schools. I mean, if you were to actually live stream a normal traditional 28 team SPL cross country meet, I mean, that'd be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we did the the sectional meet, the state sectional. And that one I was worried about because we were much further, like we were in a far more distant suburb out on the Fox River. And like, I was like, are we going to have the same cell service? That we had decent cell service, but like it was a campus that was like very, wooded, heavily wooded campus. And again, it really surprised me, but we were able to it was a little bit grainy of a broadcast, but it really turned out well. And I think we had like over 70 people at the same time for that. So that was really nice to see too. We had 70 concurrent views and probably about 500 views, but we only had 2 races. So
right.
I went into this not really knowing what to expect. You see, some people do broadcast and they have thousands and thousands of views, and other people just do a few. And like, I went in with no expectations at all, so I've been delighted at how people have responded.
Very cool.
So
when it's all said and done, what would you say was the most rewarding part of live streaming cross country meets?
I would say, so the most rewarding part is like a few things we talked about. So first of all, giving the students, trying to give them as much of a, normal experience, get them a little bit closer to a normal experience. Show the kids, my own kids, the students at the school, that, hey, they're doing the same amount of work to train all week. They're missing out on a lot of stuff, to give them a little bit more normalcy, to know that, hey, we care about them. People are watching. We're doing something cool, and it's just for you. Give the families some recognition that, hey, we recognize what you're going through, getting, all the sacrifices you're doing for your kids. So I think, and then to have, people, all of them get a lot of good comments from parents, like we were saying, getting the far away viewers as a surprise. That was rewarding. Learning something new, like at the beginning, like if you had asked me like in March, in May, and in July, Ed, we talked on the phone in July, and, we're going to do cross country, and middle of July, I don't know how we're going to do this.
Yeah, in typical Ed Sullivan fashion. Hey, Charlie, we need the live stream and outdoor cross country meet. You have 3 weeks.
Right.
You think you could do this?
And like, seriously, we did not know what we were going to do. I mean, I remember, we were bouncing ideas. How are we going to get network? How are we going to get, what cameras, who's going to buy cameras or anything? So we really had no clue. And just to say, we kind of said, okay, how do we, anything we do that's simple is going to be better than nothing. So let's do something simple. And then, the first, hey, well, that simple thing worked. Maybe we could add a little bit. Here's an idea to add a little bit, and then add a little bit and add a little bit. So, it just it became a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was, like anything that's worth doing, it was a lot of work.
Yep.
Ended up being a lot of fun. And I come out of it like knowing way more about how these things work than I used to. And I'll tell you this, when I watch a sports broadcast, I have way more appreciation for what they're going through than I ever did before.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
true.
And I was going to say, a couple other things just to close up on that. Kudos to Charlie. He streamed 7 cross country meets in a row on Saturdays. There was probably over half of those Saturdays where Charlie and I would then stream Sunday Mass. So, we'd be walking in Sunday morning, having just pulled off, an awesome broadcast for cross country. It's like, okay, now we gotta make this work for church. So kudos to Charlie for just the time and effort. And, one of the most rewarding things for me, and I know I shared them with Charlie as well, is you'd have people, I got cards from grandparents out of state thanking us, saying, hey, I've never gotten the opportunity to watch my grandchild compete before. I was able to see my grandchild because of you guys. Or even we're not going to show the video, but there's great footage out there of people recording grandparents watching their grandkids as they're finishing a race or they're neck and neck with someone, cheering at the television screen for their grandkid as if they were there.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just so cool. It goes back to the community piece that Charlie spoke of. And then the last two things I'll mention is that I had two major screw ups this season that really messed with Charlie. One was with copyright laws. So I went to this website and I wanted to create this awesome KCA Sports Network, like the Universal Globe. Dun, 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 dun. So I go back to see how many views we have after the race. And Charlie goes, yeah, the numbers were low. He goes, the schools were smaller. I got us copyrighted and blocked from Facebook for the day.
Nice.
So that was the first thing I messed up. And then at the IESA sectional, Charlie, puts together this excellent sports Emmy-worthy broadcast and is getting ready to show the award ceremony. I'm trying to take my cell phone back, and I end the broadcast on accident.
Well, I'll tell you, I made far more mistakes than that. I heard made far more.
What? Hey, Charlie. So what was the biggest mistake that you nobody basically saw other than you, just for fun?
Good question. I mean, mistakes people did see, like a lot of times if we had the videos, I'd play the first minute of the video with no sound. I think people saw that.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'd show the graphics for the lineup for Team A while, Jason Borjo, if you're still watching, I felt so bad because Jason would go up to a team and I'd try to put up the graphics with the lineup for that team. And sometimes you're trying to look at them and you can't figure out what the teams have the same colors or whatever. And so I would put up the lineup for a team, but then I see Jason's got the camera and he's running, trying to, Charlie's showing this team, and then we'd get there and I'd switch it. And of course, the next team I put up there is the team that's all the way on the other side of the field. So I'm making him go all the way over there. So Jason, I apologize for that. I know I did that a few times.
Oh, that's funny.
I remember I missed at the sectional. I forgot to start the clock. The clock was not connected to the official clock at all, like ESPN can do. And that's an idea for the future, but not yet. So my clock, I have to, I'm watching, I'm listening for the gun. I have to start the time myself. And, I didn't realize they were about to start. The gun goes off. And I missed starting the clock, and people are going to want the clock to be right. It's cross country. Thank you, Jason. So I'm running over the official timer. They had a timing company, so I'm running up to the guy, and I'm saying, count the time for me, and and he's, I'm sort of at his ear, and I'm like 15, 16, 17, and I'm running back to my laptop, trying to keep the time in my head, 18, 19, 20, and I'm trying to just set the time just right and get it back together. So that's probably a mistake. It worked out fine, but it worked out. But it was one of those goofy behind the scenes things. We had we had batteries run out on cameras here and there, so you would have long dead areas in the broadcast. What else happened?
We also had, and it happens, one of our camera people accidentally was having a phone conversation and a couple non-Catholic school appropriate words were dropped. But Charlie, being the professional that he was able to go back and add some nice background music and took out the audio. So now if you were to go back, all you hear is this awesome techno beat in the last quarter mile.
That was another skill we learned. So we haven't yet learned the 7-second delay on our broadcast, but I imagine you guys are going to need that sooner than I will, though.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you, when the couple people texted me that there were swear words on the broadcast, I turned to Murph immediately and I go, "It wasn't me, right?" He goes, "No, you were good." I'm like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" He goes, "Oh, I don't remember." I'm like, "Oh,
It was an extended conversation, right?
it was."
Yeah. It wasn't just like, yeah, da, 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 and you're like, oh, cut it off. Like, no,
Right.
it was not.
So,
Oh my gosh, that's
but
funny.
cross
But
country,
it's all good. We cleaned it up. Yep.
a lot of great stuff there. We're going to switch gears here, Charlie. How difficult will live streaming basketball and volleyball be in comparison to cross country? What equipment and how many volunteers do you think you'll need compared to what you did here with cross country?
I'm hoping that, with what we've learned from streaming cross country and streaming mass, that, I'm hoping it won't be too bad. I think we, think about volleyball. It's a closed space. It's all pretty much right in front of you. You've got Wi-Fi in the building. The Wi-Fi in the building should be better than it ever has been because they've been teaching out of the gym, right? So the Wi-Fi is upgraded to support like 60 kids in class, and on a volleyball day, I'm going to be the only one who needs it. So I actually have high hopes for basketball and volleyball. And what I think is going to be fun is that because, we've solved a lot of problems, I'm hoping we can experiment with some fun stuff, incorporate a scoreboard on the screen. Maybe we put the actual scoreboard as a picture-in-picture. Maybe we try to do like the ESPN thing and have a scoreboard, on the bottom of the screen all the time. And maybe we even try to tie it to our scoreboard, and that, for basketball, who knows? But you could even do stuff like if I could take an iPhone camera and find a way to mount it up on the, up behind the glass and show your free throw shooter through the glass shooting, right?
I like that.
That stuff, if you think about like 20, 30 years ago, like that was something only ESPN could ever do. But now, if you can get a ladder up there, the equipment is there to do it. You can do it
That's
yourself.
hard to find,
right? No, you can do it.
No.
Well, it's not the ladder that's the problem. It's the people who climb it.
Right.
Well, and I think also, Charlie, kind of tying back the mass, we have now this technology that Charlie found, this device called a Motu that connects directly to the speaker. So that way you can hear, whether it's the priest or the deacon, whoever's doing the readings, clearly through your broadcast. For us, we love to play music in our gym. We do PA announcements for big events like 8th grade nights and, Volley for the Cure. We can connect that to the broadcast. And, if you're at home or you're in Kentucky or California, it doesn't matter. You can actually feel like you're in the gym. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah. And like one thing I'd like to do, I'd like to even have commentary, I think, for the broadcast. I think that would, if you had the right person doing it, like I think you need the right person.
Yeah.
But like a commentator could really add something, kind of like somebody you're sitting next to at the game, right?
Yeah.
And ideally a coach or parent who knows a little bit about the kids. The other thing I want to do with basketball and volleyball, once COVID is over, is like get the kids involved too. I think there's now that we've learned a sort of baseline level of knowledge. I've seen how much my own kids have learned by being involved in this, and I think there's a real opportunity for the educational side of this. For get the students involved. It's something that's very reachable. Like parents can help, but the students can do it too. They've been doing weekday mass at the church, before up till Thanksgiving. And every Wednesday, I couldn't do it myself. They had a group of 8th graders going, and my son was one that was helping. But it was, a lot of the kids had never done it before, but, they did it a week or two. They got used to doing it. They can do it. And it really became fun for them. And now they have a new skill that they enjoy too.
Right.
So I'd love to get the kids more involved. And I think we're at a point where we can start doing that.
And the possibilities there are endless, whether it's creating graphics, creating video packages, whether it's recaps or starting lineups. And, I think what's even cooler is, we really pride ourselves on how much participation we have within our program. this allows us now to tap into a group of students at the school that might be like, you know what, I don't like basketball, or I don't like volleyball, I don't want to do any of those, but they really, have an interest in video production, or streaming.
Yeah,
and now we have now brought in more kids into our program, and that, I think is really, when it comes to it, all this stuff is great, but I think that's the biggest piece, is that we're trying to get more kids involved. And
Right.
it's going to lead to something special.
Yeah, and there's technology pieces, there's the personality piece, there's in front of the camera pieces, tech pieces, behind the camera, directing pieces. You're right, contributing content, make videos, make graphics, do a pregame show, interview. Hey, there's public speaking opportunities too, right? Interview the coach, interview players, do a postgame show, do video editing to put highlights together, and we'll show that. Make a commercial, go around town, and I would say I'd bring that up too, like something we really haven't taken advantage of, and we might. I don't know if we will or not, but
we will.
There's a fundraising aspect to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like as it gets more popular, there's involve the community. You can do announcements of school fundraising things. You can do commercials, and and a lot of the companies and organizations that's already want to support your school, this gives them a way to do it. And I think streaming is like, we have a fairly small audience so far, but it's going to grow. This is only going to get more popular.
Charlie, you have to do it. A lot of people from our school are watching this. I need you to share the 2 company ideas that you had for basketball broadcast. Do you remember them?
I don't. Now, give me the companies. Oh, the Wickstrom Chevrolet drive of the game.
Very good. What was the other one?
I don't know if any Wickstroms are watching. Yeah, the Wickstrom Chevrolet drive of the game. Get me started. Give me a hint.
3 seconds in the lane.
Oh, I remember we did it. I don't remember.
Points in the paint, brought to you by Skibco Painting.
Right. That's right.
So,
the possibilities are endless.
I'm telling you right now, whether it's post-game KCA player of the game or a live looking at concessions,
right?
Chef Mike is showing you how to make loaded tater tots. I mean,
right.
The content possibilities are endless.
They really are.
Before Murph asks his next question, share a couple comments. Mickey Hogan Janeski says, I like that idea. Mount a camera on the backboards.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jason Alsobrook watching, saying, great broadcast, great job. Thank you all for your hard work. Thank you, Jason.
All right, thanks for watching.
Mary Beth Noonan Stahl. Hi, Dan. Love your shirt.
Let's go Friars.
Go Friars, yeah.
Coach Teddy, love the idea of getting the kids involved. Having more opportunities for kids to learn their strengths is always a good thing for their life's journey.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Murph, go ahead.
So tell us about track and field. That's, all the events that you have in track and field, and trying to capture that. That's going to be a challenge, I got to think. So probably the biggest challenge, right? So how do you figure you're going to pull this one off?
Yeah. So I think track and field is probably going to be the hardest one. And because it's outdoor, we have the outdoor factor. On the one hand, it's a little more contained than cross country. It's on a track, but what gets you about that is the simultaneous events. Well, the simultaneous events are the hard thing. You got field events, you got multiple field events, and you got track events going on at the same time. So, I mean, all I can think of so far is that we might have to have like either multiple channels at once or tape delay it and do one event live and the other's tape delay. So probably has to be one of those 2 things.
Smart.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we do it live, we could try doing it live and just see if, again, the question is, can I push all that video from multiple live events up to the cell network at the same time? But I probably can. The cell network has actually impressed me during cross country, the power of it. So,
yeah.
I think it's going to have to be one of those things. We also need more people like educated, need more people with more experience to do it. It's going to be a sort of a jump up in the knowledge of our like camera people, because with multiple events, like in cross country, I can be the director and I just need people pointing cameras the right way, right? But now that I have multiple independent events, I need kind of a director at every station, right? Because I can only be watching one of them. I can watch the runners on the track, but somebody else has to know what they're doing for high jump. Somebody else has to, and I'm probably going to make graphics for here's your high jump competitors in a graphic, and somebody's going to have to know how to put that on the screen there while I'm doing the graphics for the track runners, right? So I really have to boost. I'm going to have to do more training of people. It's a good thing. I'm going to have to do, training, like running a clock. Now, like tenths of a second is important, and getting a clock right. But I think we can get that.
It is almost like 6 separate broadcasts.
It is, yeah.
I think that's going to be the challenge, is that, you essentially have 6 separate broadcasts going at the same time.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what else I want, for technology. I'm going to share my screen again, because this makes me think that the technology I want you to buy for me, Ed, is the track, the camera on the track, like this, the camera that's on right now, which is moving with the runners. Like, I think this is really cool for track. If you understand that, it's the camera that's out here. I don't know if you can't see my mouse arrow, but it's on this green track outside. You can see my mouse arrow?
Yes, sir.
So there's a track out here that the camera moves on and follows the runners. And that's what I want. That's what I want.
Could you put your mouse along the track and run it along the track in the same direction as the runners? Just for a sec there.
Like here? Here, let me.
Like put it on that. I'm sorry, not on the track, but on the track of the camera, and have it run move it in the same direction as the runners.
Say again what you need.
So put the mouse on the camera track, like in the even with the last runner, and then run it along the track. I'm picturing Sully, for all those people who can see it, running along the side with a camera.
Right. Hey, that's a much more economical option. Ed, I think you could do it.
Yeah, especially when I pass out and the only thing you can see is the camera looking up at the sky.
Right.
Because I've either tripped or run out of breath. Yes.
Runners, go on the outside lane and say hi to Sully.
This is why I need a golf cart.
A fast one.
Right. So anyway, that's sort of my technology idea for track.
Very cool.
Whenever you get that tuition increase for $2,000 families,
right,
you know what it's going for. Right. Track and field, baby.
I'm sure parents are really happy to hear that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, that is not what's happening. We are not increasing tuition.
No.
Well, we have, if there's any other questions in the chat, now is the time to throw it out. We are going to throw a last question to Charlie. Charlie, what is the best advice that you can give middle schools that are looking to begin live streaming events?
I think the best advice is that the number one thing I would say is that when you think about, could I live stream a sporting event, just on the surface, it really sounds intimidating. To me, it sounded really intimidating at first, but I would say, start simple. I think, Facebook Live and or YouTube Live are, free platforms. It's not hard to get set up. Feel free to, contact me, contact Ed, right back on this podcast. And I am more than happy to share everything that we did. There's nothing I want to keep a secret. But I'd say that's the number one thing. It's very achievable. You can use cameras that you already have. People can be carrying them if you want. The like I said, Facebook Live is free. YouTube Live is free. We use StreamYard, which is a small subscription fee. Per month. You can. There are small upgrades you can do for for lower costs, like cheap tripods, subscriptions to a simple graphics service, or a streaming service, which are a little bit up. A lot of free software you can download, a lot of free YouTube videos and other resources you can get. If you want to spend the money, you can, and you'll get a much clearer picture, a much better experience. Definitely, there's money you can spend, but there's a lot you can do for zero cost or low cost, and just start very simple, like one camera on Facebook Live. All you do is log on to Facebook and say go, and then build from there. Say, hey, that worked well. What's the next thing I might want to try? Hey, try putting a graphic there. Try but using a microphone instead of the microphone on your camera. Watch a video, watch to see how somebody else did it. Start small, add a little bit when you feel comfortable doing it, but it's very getting into it, like the barrier of entry, so to speak. Like, it's much more achievable than I thought going in.
Very cool.
Well, Charlie, a couple questions coming here. A couple comments. The president of the Suburban Parochial League, Mr. John Mulholland, said that the streaming was incredibly important this past cross-country season, since no spectators were allowed. And being that he is the rules chairman in track and field, he did want to remind everyone that, of course, someone running next to runners on the track could be considered pacing, which isn't allowed. So thank you, Mull, for having my back and not having.
John. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
John also asked you to mention that the IESA, the Illinois Elementary School Association, currently has a GoFundMe going. It's the governing body of middle school sports in the state that provides a lot of great memories and opportunities for student athletes. And because they can't have live events right now, they're struggling. So if you go to GoFundMe and search for the IESA GoFundMe page, please check that out. Charlie, one last question coming from concession stand extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Pollock, who was very clutch at providing us with backup batteries.
Yes, he was. And thank you, Mike.
And he is the best at giving us feedback, letting us know what looked good or what to, He was curious if the possibility of GoPros. What is the challenge with GoPros?
With GoPros, I'll say, full disclosure, I haven't used GoPros much. Can you live stream from a GoPro or just record? That's what I don't. I'm sure.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that I don't know. I know. If you can record, I'll tell you. Something we looked into doing, and we could have done it. We just didn't get our act together. Like, I wanted to use a drone and sort of get a flyover of the cross country course, and have somebody narrate, like before we started the race, say, and here's what our course is, here's the course the runners are going to be on, and have the drone video fly over. But that isn't something we could do live. We actually thought of, could we have the drone in the air during the race and give an overhead view of the race? But the drone that I had access to wasn't able to do a live stream. It could only record video. That would have been cool. The GoPro, I'd have to learn more. Certainly we could take recorded video. Let's say if you wanted to have like a GoPro record sort of a trip around the course, and then record that ahead of time, show it before the race, and say, here's what your racers today are going to be encountering, right? I think that would be really cool. And you'd probably run it in at a fast pace to, maybe slow it down to show a big hill or certain features.
Right.
But yeah.
Murph, do you have anything else for Charlie?
No, I think we covered it pretty well, and I enjoyed participating in it to the small extent I did, and didn't hopefully mess too much up. And I was not the person on the phone, so I just want to be clear about that. And that person is also not invited to be the broadcaster for any of the events as well. But no, I think we covered everything well. And I'll just say, Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, everybody who participated. Thank you to Karen, of course, as well, and the boys. And I'm really excited, I have to say, about the idea that grandparents and aunts and uncles can now see their nieces, nephews, grandchildren and stuff like that participate in stuff. And then you throw in, kid broadcasters and interviews. There's just a lot of opportunity for comedy and for good, just good stuff, good events. So
yeah, that's great. And I wanted to say thank you. We got, you're interviewing only me, but we got a lot of help from a lot of people. People gave up, just like I gave up my morning 8 weeks in a row or however. I mean, we had the camera operators, we had the same camera people week after week for the most part, and they were giving up, their whole morning to pretty much stand at a camera, a lot of times by themselves, but they were really paying attention and get the best view of the kids. So, all the people on the other end of the stream could have a great look at their kids. So the camera people, we got help from people doing statistics or times at home. My own kids and a few others did graphics. Like all the people who contributed content feedback, we got great feedback from people to make it better all the time. Ideas from people on how to do power better, what technology to use better, how to move cameras around. And get a better view. So, a lot of people contribute, and all the people who made videos for us and other content. I will say that to do a good job, if you really want to do a good job, you can spend a lot of time on it. Making a 90-second video could easily take 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's also, it can be really time consuming, but in a good way sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for your insight and your knowledge. This would not be possible without you and all your hard work and effort. Once again, streaming provides that opportunity to connect to the community and to grow and develop the brand and give kids lifelong memories. Charlie, before I let you go, do you know what tomorrow is? What's tomorrow's date?
Tomorrow is 12/12.
Do you know what's so special about 12/12, Charlie?
I don't.
We'd like to wish Murph a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Murph.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. So,
and I can't read it. Does it say 10?
So for everyone that's watching at home, or if you're listening to this, if you get a chance, make sure to send Murph an email. He won't read it. A text message or a Facebook message.
He will read his text. He will.
And happy birthday, Murph.
Thank you. I appreciate it, buddy.
So for the patriarch of the KCA Sports Network, Mr. Charlie Williams, and the man that puts the boom boom into your heart, the birthday boy, Mr. Dan Murphy, I'm Ed Sullivan saying we'll see you next time on Murph and Sully's Youth Athletics Podcast.
Peace.
All right.